I just bought the best scooter ever made. And to some of you who might not know and might be thinking this is just another old scooter, I'm here to put y'all on. The only bad part is you'll probably never ever find one. And that's simply because these were never sold in America. Sadly, scooters aren't too popular in America. Even in our busiest cities, most people drive or take taxis. Unlike most other countries, scooters are the most useful transportation. And of course, in some other countries, you actually get a license for scooters before you even get a car license, obviously making scooters more popular as well. And because most people in America don't use scooters like that, we didn't get 80% of the scooters that were made across the world. We especially didn't get the Gilera Runner 180, which for anyone who knows about scooters, this is the end-all be-all.
Looking for a powerful and stylish ride. With its 180cc engine, the Gilera Runner 180 was a standout in the scooter market, offering impressive speed and performance that set it apart from its competitors. Its innovative design and cutting-edge technology made it a favorite among riders.
These 180cc machines are absolutely insane for a scooter. With a bone stock model, you can see over 85 miles per hour or 136 kilometers per hour. And with some performance mods, you can get well over 100 miles per hour or 160 kilometers an hour, which is just absolutely insane for an automatic scooter. I always knew I needed a runner, and boys, I'm excited to let you know we got a runner. All the way shipped from Japan, this scooter showed up in a shipping container months and months later, and it was time to pick it up from good old Los Angeles. Well boys, 12 hours ago we were in Oregon. Now we're rolling up to California. I don't even think I've shown this Zuma yet on the channel. Actually got this from Brandon and went up there for ferry to ferry. If you remember right, we rolled back with a few extra scooters last time. We are already getting rid of the scooter, but we have huge plans. But you guys already saw if you saw the thumbnail and the title of this video. I can't believe this is finally happening and how unreal this really is right now. One of maybe 2 or 3 in the entire country, and we're gonna have one now on the channel. All right, this one is actually insane. I honestly can't believe we actually got this. This has been the most requested scooter 1000% on the channel, and we got the Typhoon and the Runner within the same month. And I was concerned that this thing might be a 50cc and not the true 180 until I tried to kick this thing over, and it felt like I was literally kicking over a Harley Davidson. Now we know this thing is a 180cc. The first time I actually rode this scooter was in Seattle on the recent ferry to ferry trip. We rode Scooter Swap Shop's 180. It is insane to ride this thing.
Yeah? Boys, we're on a runner, boys. Oh my God! All right, 140 kilometers.
Without further ado, we now have a 180cc runner on the channel. And as mentioned, we know no details on this bike at all, but all we can see is on this side, an aftermarket Technogas exhaust, and it is completely rusted out with some nice fresh JDM rust. Anything from Japan is obviously always rusted. Looking it over though, we looked over the frame and everything, and just from what I could see right now, the actual frame and body parts didn't look too bad, surprisingly. That's pretty much all we can see that's actually on here. Other than the pipe, there's literally just Melosi stickers all over the place, so I'm waiting to find out if there's any actual parts in here. A 22mm carb, which I'm actually surprised about, being on a 180cc engine and only having a 22mm carb sounds pretty insane to me. With a crazy looking airbox. I've never seen an airbox this big in my life, but rear disc brake, everything a runner has, and this is the craziest part of a runner to me. It looks gnarly that this being a scooter doesn't have a pass-through area. This is like almost like a sports bike in a way of scooters. This whole area is a gas tank, which is mind-blowing. And it's also crazy how you open this gas tank, which took me a while to even figure out, but isn't that sick? That is just crazy. Number one thing right now is this bike runs like absolute garbage. I'm assuming that this thing still has the gas in it from when it came from overseas. So it sat in storage for a long time since it came over from overseas. And oh my God, you can just smell the gas coming out of there. Let's just go ahead and start it up and see if he'll start again. This is full throttle right now. So It sounds terrible right now. It sounds like the carb is really, really clogged up, and it just sounds like garbage. The only thing I'm really gonna touch on this bike for right now until we figure out the plans for this thing is we're gonna drain this gas out and clean this carb and see if we can actually get it to run decent. Overall, this scooter is pretty damn beat up, and as you saw in the beginning of this video, we traded a pre-bug plus cash for it, which is kind of similar to how we traded a pre-bug for the Typhoon. So we got 2 Piaggio engine bikes, and we got rid of 2 of our baby boy pre-bugs. So kind of sad, but it is what it is. Literally leg warmers from the radiators. That is crazy. The open vents. I thought that was the sickest thing. That's it. We gotta get this thing running right, because the only thing we have a runner for is for it to be running. Let's get that figured out. She running like she. We got a JDM towel, bro. What? JDM slap. You see that? Damn, these mirrors are ugly as hell. These are the mirrors that are supposed to be on here. What the fuck? Nitrous, obviously. 4,638 kilometers. What is that, roughly like 2,000 miles? This thing is clapped for 2,000 miles. Everything I've looked up for the runner to get to America is just ridiculous prices. It's like building a car prices. It is absurd. This thing is basically so damn fast that the speedometer starts at 10 kilometers. You literally can't go 0 in this thing. It is ridiculous. What is 160 kilometers? Roughly 1,000 miles per hour bone stock on this thing. We have now fully drained the gas tank on this thing, and it is time to remove the carbs so we can clean the carbs. So first things first, we gotta remove this air box, get to the carburetor back here, and then we gotta clean all this out. I'm probably gonna go ahead and do an oil pump delete while I'm in here right now, but I'm a big fan of premix, and I'm not a fan of the OEM oil pumps. So especially once we go building on this thing, I just prefer premixing myself. So it was time we started stripping down the runner. So we started taking off the airbox and the rear fender, kind of just getting everything out of the way to make it a little bit easier to take the carburetor off, and also kind of just looking at how everything is set up on this bike, since this is my first time getting my hands on one of these. And as you can see, our carburetor was pretty dirty. Wasn't the worst I've seen, but I can tell that this thing sat a little bit and everything was gunked up around it, so I'm sure the jets were a little clogged up. We continued with taking off our CVT cover because, as I talked about, I'm going to be deleting the oil pump just because the same reasons. This thing is gunked up and it's sat a while, and I'm just way bigger fan of doing premix. So we got to the oil pump here, and I realized that this was a Y cable, so I took a second to see how the Y cable was set up and seeing if I wanted to disconnect the cable. But after I saw how the mechanism was on the inside, I knew it wouldn't be a balanced pull, so I kind of left the cable in there and realized I was going to leave it connected to the oil pump. I was actually just going to be blocking off the actual ports going to the oil pump now. Now that we got that figured out, we went back to the carburetor and got this thing ready to get cleaned out. So we started stripping it down to the bare essentials because I'm going to be leaving this thing in the ultrasonic cleaner, and I want this thing to soak up a bit. So we're stripping every single screw and plug there is on this carburetor and got it down, and look at the inside of this thing. This thing is disgusting. It is literally like 2 millimeters thick of gunk. Here is our oil tank all plugged off, as you could see. We still have it sitting in here for now, but I drained it and I plugged it off. I remember I had a problem with the Typhoon where when I undid the oil pump, the brake light didn't work. So I left the oil tank in there this time and left it all plugged in. There is a way you can obviously loop the wires for that, but just for now I just left it in there until we decided to strip down the scooter and build it more. And we're leaving that cable hooked up, like I said, so it's running all the way to the Y cable. We're going to leave it pulling on there and actually just plug the ports of the oil pump just for now, and until we get an aftermarket carb and then we get a different throttle cable, etc, etc. So there it is, all blocked off, and we are ready to throw our CVT back together. Kind of just taking a look at everything, I realized we had a yellow spring in here. Not sure what stock is, but usually yellow is about a 1500. Or a mid spring, if you will. And while we were assembling that crazy CVT cover with the nut on the outside, we had everything else soaking in the ultrasonic cleaner. So we went ahead and cleaned up hardware and everything we had for our carburetor, and kind of just going over this bike in general, because as you see here on our fuel pump, we had crazy rotting lines, and that led me to a whole disaster of fuel lines. So I decided to run new lines from our gas tank, which goes out the spigot on the bottom, around the front of the bike, into that fuel pump, which that fuel pump is a 3-way fuel pump. So then that goes into the carb for intake right there on the intake port. The other line goes up to a reservoir above the regular fuel tank, which goes through a fuel filter with another fuel petcock, which one line runs to the intake on the carb. One line runs all the way down to a fuel filter, another fuel filter, now into the carb. I thought that was insane, mind-blowing. Now that we're done with the crazy fuel setup, we're back to the carbs. So we got the carb cleaned up and out of the ultrasonic cleaner, and it was time to reassemble the carbs. Put all the goods back together and all our cleaned out jets. They definitely had the pilot jet completely clogged up. So even after going through the cleaner, I ended up using some fine wire and poking through that jet because it was still clogged up. But carb is looking 1,000 times better now and came out perfect. I used just purple power concentrate in the ultrasonic cleaner, and it works wonders for carburetors and parts and just greasy hardware in general. We're getting one step closer to starting this bike now, so let's slap the carburetor back in, plug in all our auto chokes, and run all our fuel lines and get this thing fired up. Boys, I am so stoked to hear this thing actually run good. Alright, we got everything back on there. It's all clean in here now, and as you can see, we shined up the airbox just a little bit. I'm gonna go ahead and throw in a fresh plug. Here's the plug that came out of it. It's not too bad. Looks like it's running a little rich though. And then we'll just toss a freshie in just because. When I came over here to change the spark plug, I barely touched the coil wire and this literally just fell out. This was not even inside of there. As you can tell, it's a blunt end, and this usually gets threaded into something in there. It looks like it previously just snapped off and everything just fell out of here. So this thing was getting like no spark at all. I'm assuming that's why this thing was running so bad. Yeah, the carb was clogged, but I feel like this was more of our issue. Also, on the actual plug cap itself, the snap ring that holds it onto the plug was missing, so the plug cap was kind of just like dangling on the spark plug itself. So luckily I have one of these in the toolbox. We're going to toss in a new MOPBOYZ coil wire, and hopefully that will change a lot of things wrong with this bike right now. Well, now with a completely cleaned out carburetor and some fresh spark, we pretty much have everything we need to get this thing running. So went to the gas station to grab some gas, and we're going to get some premix going in this. This is the whole recipe, everything we need to go 100 miles per hour on this scooter right now. So we grabbed some Motul 800 premix, slapped that in our fuel tank, and then we started up the juice a little bit and get a little bit of that US juice because this thing only had some JDM fuel and whatever else was in there. It smelled terrible. It was pretty much water at the point when it was coming out of there. It just smelled like sewer. We filled her all the way up. Well, actually didn't, because this was only a 1 gallon fuel tank, and the Runner has like a 3 gallon tank, which is insane. I don't know how we're supposed to afford to fill this thing up. This thing is just so damn expensive in every single way. We're going broke here. Well, just like that, after some fresh fuel, she's running a little rough, but she's clear now as we go. So I'm assuming that this pipe is really clogged up. Well, we got blinkers hanging off. Tuck that in there for now. But the Runner finally running. And the Runner was fast, but it looked terrible. We had this thing still stripped down because we just wanted to get that first ride in. So now I'm going back over this thing and kind of getting a look at everything. And this pipe is rusty, this thing is filthy, and a lot of these plastics are just stickered up and sun faded. So I want to slap everything back on and give this thing a good clean. And I want just to kind of put it back together because I honestly was forgetting how this thing went together. This thing is so complex. There's so many weird panels. And it's just crazy seeing how different this scooter is compared to any other scooter I've touched. There she is with the stickers stripped off now as I kind of roughly went over this thing, getting ready to actually clean it. So I took a wire wheel to the exhaust to try to get some of the rust off. It still looks terrible, but now I'm kind of just polishing the panels with some quick Meguiar's plastic polish. It's actually a really good job. I use this on most of my bikes. Even with just a simple microfiber, you can get this thing shining pretty well. So as you can see, the Runner looks absolutely amazing now. We got this thing running mint. It is insane how good this thing looks with just a little bit of cleanup. It was honestly looking pretty thrashed when we picked it up. Not gonna lie, it looked like we were kind of getting ripped off compared to how clean the scooter was that we traded for it. But seeing this puppy now, big old Gilera, or however you want to pronounce this thing, sticker slapped on the side, big old speedo that reads 1,000,000 miles per hour. This scooter is absolutely mind-blowing, and I can't wait to see what we do to this thing. This has been so requested by you guys, and I can't wait to see what you guys say. Let me know in the comments down below what you guys want to see with this thing. That's going to do it for this video, boys. I will see you guys in the next one.